FNAF is a long series with nearly 10 games, twice as many books, and even more on the horizon. We are bound to run into some mistakes. However, with FNAF, there seems to be way more than usual, and whether it's on purpose or not, I'm calling those out today. Yep, time to make the fan babies mad, because FNAF inconsistencies are what we're exploring today. Let's do it. In a 10, grand reopening. How Freddy Fazbear's or any version of it keeps reopening is a mystery in and of itself, and probably deserves its own separate video, actually. But with everything that has gone down at not only the first location, but seemingly every location after that, there has to be someone who is trying to shut it down, right? Like the one person at the start of the episode that everyone thinks is just a crank, but then, close to the end, we realize that they were right all along. I feel like that's kind of inevitable. Like, seriously. We need to listen to the geezer with the sign. Okay, at least 9 kids have once again gone missing in the newest Fazbear location, the Freddy Fazbear Mega Pizzaplex, which resulted in multiple complaints, but as we see in the opening cutscene where Freddy glitches out, still has a full house. I don't know what's going on with these parents, but someone needs to actually do something, and the fact that these people are just like sitting on their asses and funding this horrific act, or the horrific acts at Fazbear Entertainment is shocking. Like, I guess this Earth, whichever one it is, doesn't have Twitter or cancel culture. And at 9, names. While the names of the characters we know have stayed consistent, the animatronics for example, the names of other characters have been thrown around a lot. Take Crying Child for example, who has no canon name as of yet we called him many things. Crying Child, Chris, Kyle, Michael, Gregory, Evan. None of them, aside from Crying Child, have actually stuck. Well, currently anyway. We're still waiting on the whole Gregory thing to be confirmed or denied. And as for the whole, like, Evan name thing, they still haven't found the end in any solid fashion. So you're just jumping the shark there. Like, it could be EVA and then literally any other letter in the alphabet if you want to go down that route. You can't find the last letter in a different way to all the rest and then consider it the full name. That's just reaching. Like, if I went to court and said, "Yes, Your Honor, we found this bloody knife, hacksaw, and bone chip that matched the victim at the crime scene. And we also found the defendant's DNA in an alleyway across town. Clearly they're guilty." I'd get fired and perhaps incarcerated for impersonating a lawyer even if I was certified, because that's just how bad that argument is. And Mrs. Afton doesn't even have a name, let alone a backstory. So yeah. And at 8, story. Now this is a bit of a weak one, I'll admit, but honestly, at times, so is the FNAF story. Like, there have been multiple instances where no matter our divisions in the community, we've all come together and said, "Really, Scott?" Like when we all thought Dream Theory was possible, or when we found out William was coming back yet again in Security Breach, or even just most of Security Breach when we didn't see the 2 antagonists basically the whole game. In essence, you can actually only see Vanny 1 time instead of like the 4 times that it's possible to see her. Like, if you're fast enough in the Lost and Found, you won't even be near her, and the only time you'll really see her at that point is during her introduction. Like, I get it's a big pizzaplex, but come on. Really, Scott? And Steel Wool. Not to mention the various points that conflict with themselves, but that's for another number. This series is just a whole load of confusing, and I think that it's something we can all agree on. And at 7, canon. Now, this isn't really something that's inconsistent with the games, but rather the fans. That's right, I'm calling you out. Because personally, I have gotten a lot of comments and DMs on my Instagram about how the books aren't canon, be it the novel trilogy or the Fazbear Frights books. And yes, they're not a part of the main continuity, but they all come from the mind of Scott Cawthon, right? Well, yes, Andrea Wagner among others do help write those short stories, but Scott approves them for being in the series. So these books, while the story isn't canon to the main continuity, the ideas of how this universe works are. But the real issue is that people only use this complaint when they don't agree with someone, because those same people are the ones who talk about how the FNAF 4 Nightmare animatronics are products of the sound illusion discs present in the Twisted ones, but Crying Child can't be a robot because the books aren't canon and I mentioned Charlie. Or Golden Freddy has 2 souls because the Stitch Wraith has 2 souls, but Crying Child can't be the one you should not have killed because the man in room 1280 and the kid in the alligator mask aren't canon. Like, come on guys, you can't pick and choose what is and isn't canon from the books. If you want me to stick to the games, you need to stick to the games as well, but you don't. So why would I? And at 6, possession. I'm going to be honest, possession as I see it in the series has been pretty consistent, but the possession that I see others talking about makes no sense at all. It started off with the missing children possessing the robots that they were stuffed into, right? Chica was Susie, Freddy was Gabriel, Fritz was Foxy, Jeremy was Bonnie, and Cassidy was Golden Freddy. And that made sense. And then it expanded to Henry pouring his grief over losing his daughter into the Ella doll, which let him stay alive while giving something sentience, which ended up being separate from the possession that we know. Possession and the whole remnant thing that was going on with the Ella doll, among others, are two entirely different things. But now, people are going on about how Golden Freddy has 2 souls, and how people are possessing multiple objects and even sometimes objects and a person at the same time. That's absolutely absurd. Like, I've explained multiple times how there cannot be 2 souls possessing Golden Freddy, especially one of them being Crying Child, but I'll do it one more time for good measure. I'm sure this is not going to be the last time. Crying Child dies in the hospital in 1983, as we know from the flatline at the end of FNAF 4. We also know that the Springlock suits and the Funtime animatronics were built around the same time thanks to FNAF AR's Fazfacts. But we don't know when the original 5 animatronics from FNAF 1 were made. At least I couldn't find it in my research. I might find it later. They could have made Golden Freddy in 1984 or even early 1985 before the kids went missing. So on that front, it's possible that Golden Freddy didn't even exist at the time Crying Child died. Secondly, every instance of possession that we have seen has had the one doing the possessing near the thing that they possess, especially in the games. And keep in mind that I'm talking specifically about possession. So how could Crying Child possess Golden Freddy if he was at the hospital? Halfway through into number 5, timeline. The timeline is one of the worst inconsistencies for any FNAF fan or theorist alike, and it's something that I've tackled only once and I was blatantly incorrect about since Security Breach. Once Security Breach came out, it kind of destroyed that, since it all relied on the FNAF AR emails taking place when they actually were dated for, and assuming that Security Breach was around the same time. However, my placement for Security Breach specifically was definitely wrong, although my placement for AR, depending on the situation, could be pretty damn good, although that's a story for another day. I'll be attempting another timeline in tomorrow's video, so stay tuned for that. However, the main issue with the timeline for everyone is the amount of contradicting information, and this is the reason it's changing all the time and it's so inconsistent, because any timeline you make, you will have to disregard something from the series. It's inevitable. There are too many things that contradict themselves, and unless you spend countless hours trying to explain it all away, it's not going to be worth it to try and include every single detail. Most theories also rely on other theories to fill in the blanks, which only makes things worse, since if that one theory falls apart, so does the rest of the timeline. And at 4, investigation. We know that there was an investigation into Fazbear Entertainment around the time that the original kids went missing. This is seemingly thanks to phone calls we hear in the first 3 games, as well as Sister Location's opening scene, where Afton is being interviewed by someone who I assume to be the police, because, you know, kids going missing and then animatronics smelling like death and leaking blood should be cause for concern. It kinda makes me think that the police would have to come and investigate despite what they believed or if they were being paid off. And then they would find out about the animatronics, okay? They would find out about everything that's going on inside. The wiki says that it was like management or something, but to me that doesn't make sense, because he's the suit technician and, as we know thanks to the books, part owner of Fazbear Entertainment. I mean, that's also like the only way he'd have any pull in this situation. Like, I still can't believe that people don't understand this, saying that William only worked there, because that's not the case. While yes, they investigated, apparently they didn't have enough for an arrest or convictions, which is seemingly ridiculous, because like at least they'd have circumstantial evidence, especially if they're interviewing William about the robots containing containment chambers that are the size of a child, but, you know. It's FNAF. Getting close to the end, and in number 3, FNAF 4. FNAF 4 continues to be one of the biggest points of contention for all fans of the series, and I say that every time. And it's seemingly divided into 4 groups, or rather, 4 groups of 2. Those who know the game takes place in 1983, and those who think the game takes place in 1987. Yes, those still exist. I've been seeing it in the comments, unless those are all trolls. As well as the group who believes this game is a dream, and those who think that the game takes place in the FNAF real life. And these debates don't really help anyone else figure out anything more about this series, and I don't know why we're really debating it. Like, yeah, certain big FNAF community members end up saying one thing and then a load of people end up agreeing with them, but when more evidence comes to light, we need to learn to understand that and change our opinions. With FNAF 4, for example, Daco, I believe it was, said that thanks to the cameras from Sister Location that the game took place in real life, and now a load of people believe that. But after Ultimate Custom Night, we learned that the animatronics never had a physical form, and the sound illusion discs have never even been mentioned in the games. So assuming that these animatronics were made from the sound is jumping the shark a bit, since these are also the people who get mad when you use the books as evidence. Especially with Ultimate Custom Night seemingly being a dream and not really real. It makes FNAF 4 even more likely to be a dream at that point because of the whole Ultimate Custom Night thing and parallels with his son. Plus Daco said that, and then Scott ended up posting on later on like Reddit or something, I'm pretty sure, saying that nobody had actually figured out FNAF 4, so that kind of debunks it. But ultimately, in number 2, colors. The colors are such an important part of FNAF, okay? Figuring out the lore, at least in the early stages of the series, required us to hone in and focus on the colors of characters' eyes, characters' text colors, shirts. Hell, we identified the main killer of the series based on his color, and then argued over if there were 2 killers, since one of them was a slightly lighter shade than the first one. After that, Scott realized how important colors were, and he made sure to keep that in mind. Michael talks in gray, Baby's eyes changed from blue to green after Elizabeth possesses her, William's killer form is in purple, hell, even the Springlock suits are the same color. But then, we got thrown a curveball. One of the most consistent things in this whole series was just seemingly tossed out the window. In the Midnight Motorist minigame, a game we were picking to shreds because the car color was purple, like Williams from the Take Cake minigame from FNAF 2, dropped a random orange man in the middle of our screens. A man that we would come to know as the Orange Guy, yet someone who also lived with Michael, who we could see thanks to his gray shirt and gray text, and also had a younger child. Again, with the consistency. Then, who were we playing as? Well, we were playing as William, but why was he orange instead of purple? That's something I think I answered in another video, okay? Link is in the iCard, you should go watch it, if I can remember to put it in the iCard, because I say that a lot and then I forget which videos I actually have to do that for. And finally, in number 1, Springtrap. William Afton is a tricky fiend. He somehow, no matter what, seems to get away with whatever scheme he's cracked up because he's just that lucky or just that kind of person. Or maybe he has the Infinity Gauntlet, I don't know. But if he does, it would explain a lot, since in every game after the introduction of Springtrap where we see William, he has a new design. And it's not a design that could easily be explained away by the suit decaying or being torn. No, Springtrap to Scraptrap, his head seemingly doubled in size. And then Scraptrap to Burntrap, it seemingly went back to normal. Like, this whole time, however, it remained William Afton as proven in Ultimate Custom Night. So like, what the hell is the deal here, Scott? How did this happen? My best explanation was artistic license. Like, Scott just ran with the idea that he thought he would make Springtrap scarier, since a load of people were upset with the original jump scare and he didn't want that repeating itself, but in the process he confused the hell out of us. So in Security Breach, he went back to closer to the original design and just like swapped out his missing limbs for Glamrock animatronic parts. There were people in the comments of the whole "we solved Burntrap" theory video who said that I was comparing to fan models of Glamrock Bonnie, so my statement wasn't accurate. I just wanted to say that I wasn't comparing them to models of Glamrock Bonnie. I was comparing them to the endoskeletons that are present within the game that are used for the Glamrock animatronics. The endoskeleton that Monty and Freddy use, since they're the male ones, since that's the one that Bonnie would have used as well. Just because for the sake of explanation we showed fan models on screen in the video doesn't mean that's what I was comparing. In the video I literally said I was comparing endos. So yeah, my point still stands on that. That's all the time we have for today, friends. Thank you all so much for watching. I have been and shall remain Connor Monroe, and I'll see you in another video.